Welcome to Topaz Photo AI tutorial, and this is for version 2.4. My name is JP and this channel is Deboka, and we are looking at easy photo editing solutions, especially if you're a beginner and you're looking for some software that can help you go that extra mile. The question we have probably is, what is Photo AI? And you know, when I first started using Photo AI, I thought, am I going to use this ever? It turns out I use it actually quite frequently. Where I started using it recently is for upscaling of AI-generated images, like with Adobe Firefly or with Bing Image Creator and the works. But I also use it on my own personal raw images, well, also those that I do for work, especially as a quick work for a raw engine. It is really a very easy workflow. It's supposed to be very simple. I put the word supposed in there because with the update of 2.4, we have a complete new revamped interface. I'm all for change. This was a pretty big change, and that is why I have decided that let's have a look again at Topaz Photo AI. And actually with that, I think there is good and bad when it comes to regular updates, is that if you do keep on changing the interface like Topaz Labs do, it does with every update become a hunting, like where is this, what really has changed. The plus side is we're constantly getting new things and improvements with Topaz Photo AI, which I do like. If I think of where it started and what it gave us at the beginning and where it is now, pretty powerful. When I go on the forums and I check what people are using it for, I think almost no one is using it exactly the same way. And that is what you will have to do when you try out Photo AI, or if you have purchased it, is to find the way it's going to work for you. And by the way, if you want to know more about Photo AI from Topaz Labs, please follow the link in the description below. I'll highly appreciate that. My use cases that I've used it in the last year for quite a lot is the first one that I've mentioned for AI image generated upscaling. The second one is when I already have pretty good photos that I'm very happy with out of my camera. They are in RAW and I just want to get them looking really good, tack sharp, and just noise free from, you know, what you get from a raw image. I found Photo AI does a splendid job on that. And then the third one is for restoration. I had a high school reunion last year, 30th reunion, and we had a lot of old photos that we were reworking, and Photo AI really helped a lot with that for the upscaling purposes. Really terrific job. If you want to go check out a little bit more about Photo AI, follow the link in the description below. But I have to warn you, if you are a control freak and you are looking for something that's going to give you little micro adjustments over each and everything, Topaz Photo AI is not for you. The idea about AI is it kind of does all the work for you. From version 1 to where we now are with 2.4, things have actually changed quite a lot. We've been given more and more control, and I guess it's as the community is asking for fine-tuning opportunities. We have seen that more and more features have been added to the software that gives us that control on a finer scale that we didn't have before. The power, though, remains in the Autopilot, which is the AI, which takes you most of the way there. But with this 2.4, the idea is to give you more flexibility with that. Last but not the least, this is a tutorial. This is not a review. So even though I may have opinions over certain things, I'm going to try and refrain from it because my opinions can go on forever and ever. And what we want to do is get down to the nitty-gritty. Then super last part is the chapters. We have around 21 chapters for this. You can check down also in the description for the timestamps and jump around them. And then finally, if you found any of this helpful, please support us by just giving us a like. I really would appreciate that, even we are still here at the beginning of the course. If you own Topaz Photo AI and you've upgraded to 2.4, you're going to be surprised to see it looks very different. So I hope that this course can really help you to understand what is where and what is going on. If you want to try it, of course, you can try it for free. That is what a trial is all about. If you follow the link in the description below, it will take you to Topaz Labs. You will see they have two products, which they are super proud of. One is Photo AI, the other one Video AI, also a very splendid tool, but we're going to be focusing on Photo AI. Select that, and then here in the top right corner, you select Try for Free. From here on, you simply go ahead and you add your address, your email address and select Get Free Download. And then it says your download should start automatically. We understand that. Right, let's open the file. I'll first go to my Explorer. Here it is. Click on it to install it, and it will go through the process. Just a warning, I've already installed it, so I'm not going to go through this whole process. And the warning is that even though you may have thought that you've downloaded everything, there is still quite a number of modules and extensions it's going to download to get the whole software to work properly. So once you start here from installing it, it's going to take some time. And then after that, you simply go ahead and you select the trial. With your trial installed, go ahead and open it the way you would open it on a Mac or on Windows. I already have it in my taskbar here at the bottom. Hop on over to Topaz Photo AI, launch the battleship. And this is what we are greeted with. In this quick overview, I'm just going to show you very quickly how I bring in an image and then basically what's going on here. And then after this, we'll dive down into what's going on in the different sections for the interface and also the different enhancements, aka modules. So a number of photos that I have collected here, some of the reunion old photos from yesteryear, and a few then of a couple of models that I have here permanently at the house, which are the cats and the dogs, just to show you because I thought these images have great dynamic range. They go from super dark, super light. This is ideal to see what Photo AI can do in terms of enhancement of the noise areas within the image. I'm going to drag this one. Let's go and start here with Didi for raw, and suddenly her ears perk up as she hears her name. I click and hold and I drag it in, and that's all I did. Once you drag it in, you will see here at the bottom that there's a lot of analysis that is happening. Photo AI brings in the image and it analyzes the image as I bring it in. Now, this part doesn't tell us much, so I'm going to just move it around a little bit. And as I move it around, I want you to note that as I'm dragging it, it says original here in the bottom, in the center bottom. And as I let go, it's going to reanalyze the photo and generate a preview for us. Super nice. Lovely. Very, very. I love this. Oh, the sharpness, absolutely gorgeous. Just for your reference, for those of you, this is a raw image. I think I shot this on my Sony A7 Mark IV, 2.8 f-stop, and what was my ISO? Around 500. Great. So we've got this image here. This is your preview area. It's always going to show you the preview and everything as to how do you do the different previews, how do you zoom, how do you apply the enhancements. All of that we're going to cover in subsequent chapters. In the top right, you have the inspector window where you can see a little bit more, a full image view. Under this are the enhancements, which comes with Photo AI. And whenever one of these enhancements are applied, they populate down here. In the bottom right, we have the save and export area. And then we have our previews, our zooming. And on the left, we're going to talk about multiple images later on. In the top, this is where we have our normal stuff, our options, edit with our preferences. And then we also have different views, select images and account, and the help section. And this is kind of the idea of how Topaz Photo AI works, is you grab an image, you bring in the image, it analyzes the image, it applies the modules that Photo AI thinks are needed to get this image to look good. And then from here, you go ahead and you save the image, which is export. We'll do all of that very soon. Let's close this, and the way we can close it is to go to File and select Close Image. And then let's look at how do you actually bring in images and close them in the next chapter. There are a number of ways that you can bring in images. First one is you can just click here in the middle. It's going to open your Finder, your Explorer, and your images will appear here. If I bring in again that one for DD and I'll use the raw image again, it brings it in like so. Closing it, I can right click and then say Close Image. With these two things I've just done, I want you to note the shortcuts. Shortcuts is the way I live. If I go to File, Open Images, it's Control-O, Control-Command-O, Command for Mac, Control for Windows, and I go again, I'll select it, and to close it, same thing, Control-Command-W. And there it is. Otherwise, you can select your Browse Images, same thing. You can access your recent images by going to File and Open Recent, and they will appear over here, and the option to clear recent images. As simple as that, that's how we open and close. Let's also open a JPEG. I will open the same JPEG format that I have of Didi. My preferred method, if possible, because sometimes if I have too many sidecars with my images, it becomes very difficult. But I like to have my folders like this, and I just drag them straight in. So I have my JPEG over here, going to click, hold, and drag that and drop it onto the area. And there we go. It goes through the Autopilot. We do removing noise, sharpening, etc. And you can see that we have the modules here applied on the right, which are the enhancements. I wonder if you're sharp enough to realize that when I brought in the raw image versus the JPEG image, that different enhancements have been applied here. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So handles raw, handles JPEG, PNG, the works. It does a pretty good job in that. Of course, I immediately know why I love raw so much if I look at this JPEG version. Let's go to the file again, open recent, clear recent, and let's go ahead and just close this image. In the next chapter, let's talk about zoom and how the image preview is rendered every time. From my Explorer, I will go ahead and grab our good dog Didi, Africanus again, and I'll drop her in here, and we're going to talk about zooming. You see where you have the zoom here at the bottom, you have the minus and you have the plus. And then you also have some shortcut keys for zoom, which I use all the time. And thanks to Topaz Photo AI for giving us very standard hotkeys for that. The hotkeys I'm talking about is Control 1 and Control 0, which give you fit image and full size image. You will find that up here. If you go to view, you can see we have zoom to fit, zoom to 100%, zoom in and zoom out. So zoom to fit, if you want your whole image in, is Control 0. As I do that, I want you also to note what happens here with this little tooltip that says preview updated. So I hit Control Command 0 and it gives me the whole image. And you can see it goes through the whole process again of analyzing, or rather generating a new preview for you. Important to understand this part. And that is every time you zoom in or zoom out or pan around, you're going to find that Topaz Photo AI has to update the preview. That could be a slight problem if you're on an old or slow computer. Let's look at the other shortcuts. So Control 1, Command 1 is going to give us the image at full resolution. Control 0 then, fit to view. Control plus, Command plus can zoom in. And then of course the reverse is Control minus. I do believe if you have a mouse, you can also scroll. So let's have a quick look. Yep, you can scroll with your mouse. Same thing. I do this a lot. So you just take your little hand, scroll in. And then panning is simply by clicking and holding and dragging the image where you want it to focus on. And again, the moment I do that and I release it, you're going to see it's going to generate a new preview. This can also be done with the inspector here at the top. If I want her ears, I'll just drag this box up to her ears. And again, it generates that preview. So a number of places you can zoom. You can go to the bottom. You can set one of these presets. You can use the plus or minus here. You can use the shortcut keys, Control 0 to fit in, Control 1 for full size, Control minus to zoom out, plus to zoom in, and then your scroll wheel. All of these available. We have 3 preview modes. You see them here at the bottom. This is your full screen preview, and it will always give you the rendered image. We can have side-by-side comparison. And again, I'll just drag it so you can see these two side by side. On the left, you have the original raw image, and this is the processed one. And then we can also do the split view. Split view is probably the one that I use a lot. And if I hit Control 1, which is going to give us the full size image, and I drag it a little bit, you'll see we go through the generation again every time. You'll get used to that. It has to do that. It's a lot of generation processing that goes into that. So every time you have a new part that you bring into the image, even if it's just a slight little movement of it, it's going to generate that new preview. Nicely done. The shortcut keys here, go to View at the top, and you will find the shortcut keys over here, Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3. Cycling through these will again generate, because now I have this one. If I go to Alt 1, Alt 2, and Alt 3, and Alt 1, you will see it updates, except when you go back to Alt 1. When you are in full screen, you can also see the original with two shortcuts. The first one is just to click and hold on the image. You see the little hand, and I let go. It shows me the preview, click hold, and it goes to the original. The other one is the space bar. So just hold down on the space bar and it will show you before and after. And from here, this is how you do your zooming, your previewing, your panning. Very convenient, something very familiar. This is done pretty nicely. At the beginning, when I got Topaz Photo AI 1, I was watching a few tutorials and showcases on YouTube. And one of the things that confused me, which was the amazing speed at which these presenters and influencers were loading images and moving them around without any delay. And it confused me because whenever I loaded an image into Topaz Photo AI, it took forever. I can confidently tell you that if you have entry-level computers, especially laptops, it's going to be slow. If you find it is slow, it's probably your computer. It's not Topaz Photo AI. Everything that I've shown you so far up to here has been done in real time. I've not edited anything out in terms of it loading and generating the previews. And the reason for that is I've got a super fast computer. For other reasons than for Topaz Photo AI, I had to get a really good PC last year. And the moment I got it, I installed Topaz Photo AI on it, and it was like, oh, this is a complete different product. So you do have to take that into consideration. Be fully cognizant of the fact that if you have an old computer, old processor, or a very entry-level one, you will run into challenges generating those previews quickly. What happens, though, is that every time you open Topaz Photo AI, it generates a log. So I have DD here. And now because my computer is so fast, it's very difficult for me to show it to you. But on the laptop I used last time, I could have done it very easily. But you can test it yourself. If you open your image, and this is a huge image, look here at the top. If I put it on what is Control 1 or Control 0, you will see the dimensions are shown here in the top right. And this image is a massive raw image. If you load this image, it takes time to analyze and it takes time to generate the preview. I'll close it, Control Command W, then I'll reopen it, File, Open Recent, and I'll do the raw. And if you look at it, initializing preview, wow, that was super quick, right? That wasn't even a second. It did the analysis. The reason that happened so super quick now is because I've already opened it and the log that was created by Topaz Photo AI remembers this, and that's why it can do it so quickly. I'm going to close this, and what I'll do is go to the Help section, and you will see at the bottom it says Open Log Folder. And here we have the log. You cannot delete the log while Topaz Photo AI is open. The last log or the current session, you cannot delete it. I'll go to Topaz Photo AI, close it, and don't worry, you're not losing anything. And then I'll select these two files and I'll delete it. Let's reopen Topaz Photo AI again. I'll go to my file, open recent, and let's look at the speed. And you can see the Autopilot takes longer. It has to analyze the photo, go through all the enhancements and decide whether it's going to work or not. And once it has done that, it will give you the preview. So be aware of that because it may confuse you. Why last time I loaded my photo, it was so quick. And now this time I have another session, I open it and it takes a long time. That has everything to do with the log files here. It's not that your computer suddenly became super quick. It's because you already have analyzed it. The log has kept that data. And that's why the image in the same session can open so quickly. I don't want to go too much into preferences. That's something we can cover at another time. When we go to preferences, which is under edit for me in Windows, you can just say Control comma or Command comma, something like that. You will see that under general, you have your AI processor. From the drop down, you can leave it on auto and it's going to choose one of yours. But as you can see, I have a NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090, which is pretty amazing. I can select that so it always keeps that. And then I can just say save and ensure that it always uses that processor whenever I'm working with Topaz Photo AI. The choice is yours. But I just want to let you know, this is just a caution. I saw on the forums that especially people were calling out that 2.4 is slow. I cannot say that. I think it's pretty fast, but it goes hand in hand with the computer you have. And unfortunately, it's one of those things. The better the computer, the more enjoyable the experience is of using this. I got along very well on my laptop. I compensated for the fact that I knew it was a little bit slow, and I got used to it. And I also have to say that from Topaz version 1 to up to now, it has improved in terms of analyzing and rendering those previews. Let's talk about the Autopilot. So I'm going to close my photo out with Control-Command-W and bring in a new one for us to analyze. This time it will be my cat Luca, which is actually all over me on the keyboard at this moment. I had to move her a few times, 1 of the 7 in the house. I think, no, let's do it directly from here. I'll simply click on the workspace, then I'll go to Luca Raw, and then I'll click on Open. And I want you to note what happens here in the sidebar on the right, the whole analysis process that happens every time you bring in a new one. It starts with Autopilot, loaded and corrected, detected subject, and it goes so fast that I cannot even remember everything that wasn't there. That is Autopilot, and that's the idea behind how Topaz Photo AI works. You do very little, darling. You leave it up to us. You bring in your image, it analyzes it, and it throws in these modules, which are called enhancements, chooses from here, throws them in, and your photo should look the way it should look. Really good. And I think I cannot complain again. If I just drag her in here and I give you a before and after, let's do Alt-2 is the split view. No, that is comparison view. Alt-3 is split. Maybe a little bit too much over sharpening, but I think still, wow. Really, if we look at this in fit view, good grief. Let's just generate the preview. And you don't want to go do the pixel peaking all the time. Not all the time, but we still do it from time to time. And this is the job of the Autopilot. If you don't like the Autopilot and you want to do things manual, you can do that. You go to your preferences and then select Autopilot, and it's as simple as enabling or disabling it. My workflow, I like it on. I want it to do that job immediately, and it does a very quick job for me. It analyzes the photos, it goes through the enhancements, and it says, I need the sharpen on this one. We're going to talk about raw denoise next, because you will see it is not listed here. A lot of the editors we find for photo editing on the market, they all have, well, not a lot, most of them have their own raw processing engine. And that determines whether they are going to be successful or not, because if they don't do a good job, we don't use them again. And it's become really difficult because all of them are doing a bang-on job. And I think Topaz Photo AI doesn't let me down in that regard. And that is called the raw denoise module or enhancement. If I click on Add Enhancements, you'll see it's not listed here. This is not one that you can add or remove by yourself. Topaz Photo adds this one automatically whenever you bring in a raw image. If I close this one and then I bring in the JPEG of Luca, and I think it's because I say her name that she keeps coming to the table, it analyzes the photo and you will see that the raw denoise does not appear here. Now, in fact, if you go to Add Enhancements, you will see that Remove Noise has been added as a module. Ugh, and I just love the raw image so much better. It does a really good job with the raw image compared with the JPEG. Not noticeable really, but I can just see the color vibrancy for the raw image previously much better. My personal feeling. Closing that, and then let's bring in that raw image again. Well, before I do that, before I bring it in, just note that you do have these short clicks up here, recently used ones. I think not bad. If I look at this, I see the name there. If I hover over this one, I can see that's DD Raw. That is Luca JPEG. So let's bring in Luca Raw and have a look at the raw denoise. Select it and it opens the side panel and it will tell you raw denoise is automatically applied to all raw images. Denoise is integrated into the raw decoding process and will always result in higher quality outputs. You can dismiss this if you don't want to see it all the time. I've played around with these settings, but boy, oh boy, I'll warn you, probably don't. If I grab this slider and I just drag it a little bit to 15, you think you don't see anything significant happening here. But if I zoom out and I'll do a control 1 to, oh no, that's control 0 to fit the image, you will note that there is a lot of lightning happening in your darker areas, which is definitely not what you want to achieve here. And there's a little small line I think I can see there. What happens if I double click on it? We'll bring it back to its default value, and I cannot find fault with that. You have the option between raw normal and then raw strong. I've really pixel peeped into this, couldn't really find any reason why you would want to switch between the two. I guess if you have a super noisy image, you may want to zoom in there and really see which one did a better job. These settings I find perfect. Don't mess around with them, but I do want you to note one thing, because if I zoom in again and we look at her hair on the forehead, you will wonder, before and after, you don't see much of a change going on here. What have we messed up? The moment you click on one of these modules in the sidebar, what happens is it switches off anything under it. And raw is applied as the base module and sharpening is applied on top of it. You don't have a say over this. If you want to see again how it will look with the sharpening applied, just click outside or close it. Oh yeah, close it. And you see it loads again. Also interesting that it has to load again. And now we can see how it looks with the sharpening. The idea then is to click on the raw denoise and it removes all the other adjustments so you can see how this photo looks in terms of the raw denoise that has been applied to it. And I guess this is where we can really go in and zoom into one of these areas with noise, and I hope you can see it. This is crazy. I'm at 272%. Calling this noise is just ridiculous. But as I use the slider and I go over it, I do see those changes. So the raw denoise, it will do a pretty good job here. I cannot find, it will do a pretty good job. Let's just have a look here. I'll close this and I don't want to save anything. And I'll load my DD photo because I know she has a lot of noise just above her ear here. And let's go. You can see we have a lot of noise. I'll click on raw denoise. And now you can see the difference without the sharpening that the raw denoise makes to your image. That's a huge difference. Let's put it on strong. I really don't see much happening. Back to normal. I'm happy with normal. You can see that if you put it on strong, we're talking about a huge amount of noise. You have the option also here for remove large grain. The bottom line is, if I go and fit it again, Control 0, is that when it comes to the raw denoise enhancement, first of all, it is added by default whenever you work with a raw image. Secondly, it will not be available if you are working with anything that isn't raw, like a JPEG or a PNG. And then thirdly, don't really mess with it. Good enough, leave it as is. While we are here, the settings of these enhancements can be undocked and moved around. The moment you go and you exit it, it also disappears. I wish it could stay docked. You know, if I wanted to know my settings, then I don't have to go back and forth all the time. Let's see if we can dock it again. Docking, you will have to close it. You cannot just drag and drop it. But once you have closed it out, it will be docked again to the enhancement over here on the right. And that is raw denoise. A quick thing about the enhancements. I keep saying modules. I like them as modules because they can be brought in. If you select the add enhancements, you will see you have ones at the top named multi-use, then you have generative, and under that single use, and finally at the bottom one that's called run autopilot. The first time you bring in an image and it analyzes, it will choose which of these modules it would like to use and drop it here. The multi-use ones can be used more than once. And the reason you want to do that maybe is because you want to apply selective sharpening. Some areas I want to sharp or remove more noise. Then you bring in these and you apply the mask to that. And then you can bring in more than one. Click on Sharp again and you'll see it drops a second instance of the Sharpen module. And then you will go into the selection, which we'll look at later, and you can choose the areas you want to select and make those changes to it. To remove it, go to the module and select delete, and it's as good as gone. Can you move them around? Let's bring in a remove noise. We bring in another Sharpen, and let's see if you can drag them into different spots. Let's just wait for the Sharpen to load. And the answer to that is no. If you have set them up in the order they appear, you cannot move them around. So you will have to delete them if your stacking is incorrect or you feel that you want to do it over and start again. Let's close this and we open a JPEG image. Analyzers, go through it, and we go to enhancements. That you will note that the adjust lighting and balance color, these two enhancements only appear for non-RAW images. They are not yet available for RAW, or maybe they are part of the AI process, but they are not there when you are working with a RAW image. So if you see these two are grayed out, you are probably working with RAW. Don't cry those crocodile tears. You're not being shortchanged. These are only for the guys that are working with JPEG and other formats. I'll open a JPEG, this one of Luca. Because this is a JPEG, we do not have raw denoise, but it brings in the enhancement of remove noise. Select it and we have a few options here. The AI model that is provided is the normal one, which is for low medium noise images. And when we say low medium, it means the image is still good quality, but the amount of noise is very low. And we know that this image is pretty low noise. If you have more, you're going to go for strong and extreme, and then you have these sliders over here. The original detail is the one that you will use if you applied a lot of strength or extreme, because doing that kind of even things out, it smoothens it way too much. And then with the original detail, you can bring that back again. I'll close this image and I'll bring in one of my reunion photos. But interestingly enough, the remove noise is not applied by default to this image. Let me grab this one. So I have this reunion photo and it analyzes the photo for us, and you will see it has applied these two modules, recover faces and upscale. But as I zoom in, I kind of feel that look at all this noise. Interesting though is that with the engine and the recover faces and the upscale, it has applied something that has kind of removed all the noise. So it's a little bit strange to me. I'm not entirely sure 100% why it is so smooth, because recover faces, there are the faces, and the upscale, not entirely sure. It's maybe the minor de-blur or minor denoise as well. So these two functions here already applied. Let's remove the upscale. Aha. And once we've done that, you will see the denoise, or the noise rather, is back. So with the upscale function, then we have that denoising that comes in with it. So if you are unclear, like I was up to this point, why when I bring in an image with a lot of noise in JPEG, it isn't there as a remove noise enhancement. And the reason for that is because of the upscale function. Let's bring in then remove noise. And now you can see it has done a good job of removing that noise. Sure, these people have never looked so good, not even back then. And we have these two models then, or three. So we have the normal, and if I go to strong, let's zoom in really a lot. We have pixelation already happening there. Normal, strong, extreme. Yeah, not really much I can say about that. Let's drag up the strength. It should smoothen it out a lot. And then let's bring back some of the original detail. I don't think it makes a major difference. Again, the AI is doing a very good job with just the normal model here. Depends on your image you will have to play around with. Now, if I'm using the upscale, why would I want to also use the remove noise? And the answer is you probably don't. The reason you may want to do the remove noise if it's only specific areas where you want to remove the noise. And that's common if you have a background where you want to remove the noise, but you don't want to remove the noise from your subjects. In this case, I want to remove the noise from the entire image. But let's say, for argument's sake, I only wanted to remove the noise from the background. Then I go to the selection and you can see there's an auto mask. It decided to mask everything because everything needs denoising. But from the drop down, it has some detection modes. So select background and it does a very good job getting that background. We have a feather there at 100. I'll reduce that a little bit. And you don't need to have these things perfect. A person who goes there on the shoulder and looks for noise in that area of the photo needs to get a life. But you also have this brush if you needed to brush in or brush things out. So for example, what is this? This creature here, I can brush in more with the subject. And if I go over it, I just click here on add remove and I bring her hand a little bit back. And the size of the brush is adjusted over here. Let's add a little bit more. Where can we add? Ah, here. We want to bring that part in. And that's it. So your brush type, you have standard, super pixel, and object selection. You want to go through that. This is something you can play around with. But this is kind of the idea behind using the enhancements on their own individually and why you would want to load more. And I'll select done. Well, let's go back to controls. So once you have made the selection, go to controls and now it will apply that. So if I zoom in, we should see a load of noise still here on our humans, but the background, no noise. And we're kind of used to how this kind of thing works. The faces look good, and that's all to do with the recover faces. Sharpening. Select the sharpening and you will see we have different models here again. Standard for low and medium blur. That's a good image. Strong for medium and high blur. And then you have lens blur and motion blur. It depends on what happened when you click the shutter or you press the shutter if you need, because this image is pretty good. It doesn't matter which of these models I'm going to choose. It will give me a nice rendering of her face. Then you have the strength here. I often like to reduce the strength a little bit. You see again that little green indicator there. That is the Autopilot selection. If you want to go back there, we figured out this control click. Wait, let me put it there and I'll click on the dot. Control double click. Let's do that again. Double click. You just have to double click. Don't need the control at all. And then you see the little green dot here, the green dot there. These are indications of the choices the AI made when it analyzed this photo. Just like with the remove noise, you have the selection again. This is the part of the AI that we love because you usually just want to sharpen your object, your main object in the image. If there is something else in this image that you want to select for sharpening, you go into the selection and you can include it with the brush. If there is something you want to sharpen, but not with these settings, maybe just a slight little bit of sharpening, what you do is you go to add enhancements, you go to sharpen, you go to the selection, I'll select none, and then I'll go and let's say I want to sharpen this very blurry background for some crazy reason, and then I select it like so. This way I can apply different settings for this selection and I have these different modules. This is similar to layers in Photoshop. If you've worked with that, the concept is here, you want that extra control. We do like that extra control. And I think you can bring in as many enhancements of sharpen and remove noise as you please, and then adjust lighting and balance color. Those will be for JPEGs. Let's have a look at them. Let's bring another one of these reunion photos, and this one of us having break at school. No phones back then. What did we talk about? Sitting in the sun, just enjoying a lazy day. Right, so let's have a quick look at what it has done here. And we've learned a lot about Topaz Photo AI in this little process now. One of the things that I've learned is that with the upscale, there is actually denoising, deblurring, and it also fixes compression applied. So once you do the upscale and you have these settings, you most probably do not want to go and just bring in remove noise enhancement because it may just be overkill. On the other hand, let's zoom in on this photo and see if we are happy with the noise that has been removed. And the answer is actually no. The upscale did an okay job as to start off with, but I'll probably want to bring in and say I want to remove more noise. With these very blurry photos, be very, very careful just to go ahead and apply sharpening. There is some sharpening applied to the recover faces, but what we want to do is look at adjust lighting. I'll go and hit Control-Command-0 to fit the image, and then after that, and select adjust lighting. This gives me the feeling that we're working with contrast. This feature was in beta for a long time, and now it is included, and we know that it's not available for the raw images. As I drag over it, it's probably not what we want. It's way too dark. Under the strength option, we have actually positive values. And if you drag it to the left, you will see we go minus, and these are negative values. So it's going to lighten it up. Going left, lighter. Going right is going to darken it pretty much. Now, the default setting it gave us, I forgot what that was, is too much. And I try and go down to something like 3 because I do like a little bit more of contrast. I wish it could give me a little bit more variation between the lights and the dark areas. If I go all the way to the left, it starts, highlighting the shadows, bringing out the shadows, which I don't want. So this is a little bit of touch and go. On some images works very well. On other images like this one, I'm not entirely sure. Then you have the selection option again if there are only certain areas that you want to do. So let's just go ahead and select something like background, see what it does. Well, it didn't do a bad job. I'll then paint some of these people in. And also this here. Very rough. And then back to controls, and let's see now if I increase the strength. We see we can get away with it. Let's go to the light. Oh, actually, now moving this to the light. Yes, I like this. So a little bit of more contrast on my subjects, and then you lighten the back. It can be done. You'll have to play. This is a hit and miss, and depending on the images with the adjust lighting, something I think we'll see a lot of updates to in the future. With the adjust lighting, the next one then is the balance color. I will remove the adjust lighting here so we can go back to the way the AI processed the image, and let's bring in this one called balance color. Also one that was for a long time in beta, and now it's been included with the 2.4. I think here it did a better job. It took out a little bit of that cast that we have there, and it put it to a warmer side. I can see that. And we can play around with the temperature slider. I do feel, again, this is super extreme. It's really extreme. You have to be very, very careful. But if I just look at the uniforms the girls are wearing, I know kind of from memory, this is we used to call it pumpkin, a very strong color. So I would expect it to be very pumpkin-like. And then we get that old photos from back in the 90s, 80s. It's a hit and miss again, but if you just need that little bit of touch, it can do an okay job. Let's close this image, and then we bring in a good JPEG, one of these. So I'll grab Luca here and see what those two adjustments can do for us. Control Command 0 to fit the image, and I'll just put it in full preview. Add enhancements. Let's start with the adjust lighting, and we see what it does. And you can see it doesn't, okay, right, that was pretty strong. It's vibrance because it's adding warmth to it. And it's way too saturated for my taste at this moment. Let's take it to the minus. And I cannot see really. It still did highlight some of those shadows. If your image is good, I would probably not load this enhancement. Let's remove the adjust lighting and let's see what the balance color will do for this image. Give it some time. Did it do anything? Generating. It removed definitely the color cast that we have there. Put it a little bit softer to the bluer side. Cooler. Let's make it even a little bit more and see how that happens. The generating takes some time. Definitely doesn't like that. And let's put it on the warm side. See how that looks. And this one takes some processing power. Pretty extreme if I click on it, but I actually think this one made the image better. If I click, let's zoom in, wait for the preview. If I click and hold, I think I actually like this much better. So I would say that the balance color impressed me here. It took away a lot of the orangeness that I do see in her. This feels to me more real to how I know her in real life than what I have here in terms of this image. You will see we have an opacity slider. So if the effect is too strong and you want to do a blend, then you can do that with the opacity slider. It gives you the best of both worlds. Yeah, so they always say. And that those then, these two, what do we call them again? We call them the adjust lighting and the enhance color enhancements. They are here for the JPEG images. Let's talk about remove next. Let's see what we can do in terms of removing things from the image. And I think the idea behind the remove, if we go to enhancements, select it. Let's have a quick look first here. Remove uses generative AI to make objects disappear. Okay. It fills the selection area with a content-aware patch created to match the rest of the image. Use small masks to remove medium, large objects in steps for the highest quality output. Okay, that makes sense. And large masks can produce a low quality output. So use masks. So let's click on remove, and it says generative AI output will change each time it is processed. To prevent unintended results, your previous enhancements will be locked. So let's go ahead and click on OK. What I would have liked to have seen is maybe like dust and scratches removal, but this thing is pretty huge, very, very big in that regard. So let's zoom in here on, and now I'm just talking about fixing things up a little bit, and I'm holding down spacebar and then dragging with the mouse to pan around. I'll reduce the size, and I wonder, can I do that with, yes, I can do that with the square brackets. And let's see if I click on that, and I click here, and I click here. Well, generative AI. Now the word scares me a little bit because I'm just so used to dust removal tool. It says exactly what it should do. And let's go ahead and say remove selection. Removing objects, preview updated, and that did a pretty okay job. If I hit spacebar, before, after, I'll hold down spacebar and I'll drag around again. Let's see these guys over here. I can select, and then say remove selection. And just remember, you do have the undo option here, but every time you bring in something new, you'll have to undo. How about these guys over here? Okay, let's see. You can barely see what this image is, but I'm curious to see what we can do with these scratches here. How about this face? And hit it. Okay. Oh, wow. I'm actually pretty impressed. The alien comes alive. How about let's fit everything? Let's remove something bigger. Let's remove these guys on the lawn. I'll increase the size of the brush. Hold down bracket square, and I'll select them all and remove selection. They indeed have disappeared. Let's see if we can get rid of everyone here. Keep the feet in for now. Remember, you have to do it in steps. Don't go too big. If you have smaller sections, remove selection. Okay, that's a little bit weird. Let's see if we do that. And that's, the thing about generative AI. Sometimes it does, sometimes. Okay, there we go. We're getting there. So I think it's doing okay job. I like how it did the small stuff. I wish we had a function like the detect dust, detect scratches, especially for these kind of old photos. Brilliant. And let's use the space bar. This is just scary, right? Every time I use these tools, I just think they're absolutely mind-blowing. Remove selection. Preview updated, remove, click. So we've cleared out everyone there. Let's see if we can add another remove, and you can do that. So if you want to go back and, put different layers of the remove, you can do that. So let's add something here. Let's remove one more thing. I want to see how it's going to remove this. No, so let's use the, what do you call this? Erase part. Yeah, the erase works. Speed and quality, and then remove selection. I think when I have time, I'll do, ooh. Wow, it even gave that guy a shoulder. Okay, let's see about this one. I'm getting sidetracked. What is it? Just scary like yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was pretty scary, but look at that. It added a chair. Well, the chair doesn't have a, wow. I don't think this person was sitting on a chair. Maybe they were. This is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Good. And that is the remove tool. Let's just have a look here at the brush type again. We had object selection. And then we also have speed quality. Controls the amount of processing time the model will spend generating a new background. Higher quality takes more time. The amount of time depends on your hardware. Okay. So again there, remember, if it's super slow, it's because of your hardware. Try and get a new computer or just reduce the slider here. I know getting a new computer isn't an option at this time, right? Again, remember, just to remind you, you can always undock this. And if you want to dock it again, you have to close it out and it will move back there. And then to get back into the settings, you have to select that tool that you were working with. Next tool, next enhancement is recover faces. Let's bring in this image that we worked on previously. And one of the things we found when we worked on this image is when I removed the upscale. Let's zoom in first. The upscale is applying denoising, and that's why everything looks so nice and smooth without noise. But when I remove the upscale, you will see the noise returns, but the faces still remain kind of smooth and not so much noise. The reason for that is because of this option, recover faces. This is going to happen whenever you bring in an image with a person's face, especially JPEG and especially old photos like these. If I select recover faces, we get our options here, and you'll see immediately we have these yellow boxes around the faces that it has detected. You have the option to select all faces, low quality faces, or in subject, or none. Alternatively, you can also click on it to deselect it and click back, and the yellow will tell you that it has been selected. You see here, it says add and remove faces to recover by selecting them in the preview window, right? Just missed that. That is the selection. There are only 2 people in here. And then under controls, you have the strength. Many times I will drop the strength a little bit because if you apply like the upscale and you have more denoise and all of that, things can get a little bit too smooth after a while. But I do think the recover faces work pretty well. And double click here to put it back on the AI setting. In the other photo that we have worked with, I'll close this one, with all the kids sitting outside, we also have recover faces. I'll select it and you can see that we have these boxes over these faces. Note though, that for the other kids, there are boxes, but they're not highlighted. So Topaz Photo AI is saying, I think these are people and I think there should be a face, but hey, I'm not sure. How about you? And the how about you is your choice. So if I want to sharpen that, I can click and bring these faces in. This photo, it's completely useless. You're not going to be able to generate anything worthwhile here. But in case you had a group photo and you wanted to enhance it, this is how you're going to do it. You just bring those faces in. Perfect. Really good. Recover faces. If you have low quality photos and you want to bring something in for those faces, do that. But I'll always caution on the strength. Some of them will look a little bit weird, especially if we look at all these pixels. Preview updated, look at that face, right? So maybe just reduce the strength and it looks a little bit more manageable. Now, these kind of photos, probably 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're going to have AI that's going to generate awesome renditions of this. Currently, there's just too little data to tell anyone how this person will look in real life. When you're working with these photos and you're doing restoration like I had to do last year, then it's better sometimes to leave it blurry. Removing everything often feels like you've lost the time, the era in which this photo was taken. The look, the feel, the color, the toning, all of this gives us an impression this photo wasn't taken yesterday. It's really old. Just the absence of phones tells us that. Recover faces, what a great adjustment. One enhancement that I've almost not used is the recover text or preserve text. Here we have this and it's been upscaled. This comes from low resolution. You can see here 474 by 316. And all it did was upscale. It didn't even need to bring in the preserve text. Preserve text says improve texts and retains them from getting distorted by other filters. Pair with upscaling for the best result. Okay, we'll follow your advice. And I drop in preserve text. And then the selection, I'll select the text here. Then I'll go to controls. And I think that's about it. What does this do? It's the strength. Okay, it pixelates it a little bit more, which means it's going to give it sharper edges. And then the moment we click back, well, okay, that's pretty good. If you look at the before and the after, you do see some of those sharp lines that we are accustomed to that AI brings in when it's not sure anymore, but it does a good job at preserving the text. This was actually a good job alone. If I just delete the preserved text, I think the upscale did a very good job. Well, now that I look at it, I do think the preserved text, let's bring it back again, actually select it again, does make it a little bit sharper, and I like that. And we brought in the strength. Let's say done. I do think that I've used it before on small things like there was a group photo with people with name tags on, and the name tags came in very strange. It was very low resolution, but with the preserved text, it did an okay job. If the text is really small and you're upscaling it crazy or it was not really legible, it's going to have a tricky time still. But when you are working with something like this, where the original text can still be seen, then I think this preserved text does a pretty good job. Upscale. This is one of the things that I love using Topaz for, is upscaling. Topaz Labs have an app called Gigapixel, which is brilliant. But if you already have Topaz Photo AI and you want to upscale an image, you are okay with this investment. You probably don't even need to consider Gigapixel. Here we have brought in this image and it applied the upscale filter, the only thing it applied for this one. Click on it to open the options, and let's first have a look, just quickly remind ourselves that this image is pretty small, 474 pixels by 316 pixels. Then you have the scaling option. It has the ×4 max, or you just have these quick presets. One time shouldn't do anything. That's right, it doesn't do anything. There's 474 and you can see the width and the height here remains the same. If I put it on 2, it doubles. And then if I put it on 4, it doubles. And if I go on Maximus, it will do it more. Here you have the X factor. Can we type in our own? I'm going to type in there 8 and enter. Will it do a 8? Let's do a 10. Let's see if it can do 10 for us. It's not going to do it. It's going to drop down to 6. So maxes out at 6. The AI model you choose over here. And this is one thing that I'll look into another video, because especially when it comes to graphics, you may want to use any of the other models. I do think the low resolution model works the best. And then I actually think the standard model works okay for everything else. I've really peeked into it. I think the standard model can do a really great job. Then with the upscaling, you will have this minor denoise and minor deblur. That was the one that confused me at the beginning when I brought in some of these old images and it had noise in. I couldn't figure out why the noise disappeared because I didn't load the denoise module. And the reason is because you have this here in the upscale model. So I'll just drag down the minor denoise, and with that, we will have some noise that is returning here. If we drag it up, of course, it's going to remove noise, but the image won't be at its best. So I'll just bring that down again. Minor deblur. In this case, not much needed with this image. and the upscale works really well. Let's bring in a huge image. So I'll close this one and we bring in one of our big raw images. This is our Didi dog. And she's so confused why I keep mentioning her name the whole time. I'll fit this and you will see that the upscale isn't applied. And the reason is because Photo AI says, whoa, buddy, your picture is pretty big. Do you want to go bigger? You can go bigger. Let's go and add enhancement. We go to the upscale and select that. And it's going to give you a ×2 by default. And this one, depending on the strength of your computer, can take some time because we are taking a 7000 by 4500 and we're doubling it. We're making huge images here. Generating preview. That enhancing took around 2 minutes. Therefore, be warned if you have low processing capabilities and you want to upscale this to ×2, ×4 or max, you may have to go make a few cups of tea. But I'm pretty confident because this is a high fidelity photo, already huge resolution, that with this upscale model, we're going to get a great image and you can blow it up if you want to have a big print of this. I'm going to zoom in. I'm a little bit scared to zoom in how long it's going to take us, but just to, where are we? We're at 62% now. So we go Control-1. Where is it? Preview. Let me go for 100% on this eye. Remember, it has doubled the size of this image. Half of what you see here wasn't there before. Look at this, the detail, extraordinary. I just can sit for a long time and be amazed at this quality and then realize nobody wants to see that on an image and go back to how it should look. Upscaling is absolutely great. And this is one of the places I really like to use Topaz Photo AI. I have an image, I quickly want to do something with it. I open it, I drag, drop the image in here, I work with it, and I'm done. I do a lot of website development, and using Topaz Photo AI to get the images right is great. Almost done. Let's have a look at the crop feature here. And this is just an overview of everything in Topaz Photo AI. There's still a lot we can talk about, but I hope that when you reach the end of this course, you have a very good idea of what you can do with this app. This is your crop function, so I can crop, click, hold, and just drag it. If you grab the corner, it's going to respect the aspect ratio, which is currently 3:2. And you can also rotate the crop. So if you go to the corners and hover just outside, I remember, oh no, yeah, and you just drag. You can rotate it if you want that. Just drag it out again. And then here you have the original ratio. So if I put it on 16:9, if I want that, and then I want to swap it, which means just change the width with the height. If I want to do that, let's go for my favorite, which is a square. You're so square. There we go. I want to bring her to this side to have a look up. And then we have the angle is what I changed, but you can also change the angle over here. And that's it. Done. Very nicely done. And my crop is done. I do wish when I look at this that I could bring in a vignette. Yeah, I think that's one of the features that I would probably request, because at this moment, vignette would just look good on this one to darken the edges a little bit, burn them out of that. Now, this entire tutorial, I opened, I closed, I opened, I closed, and you don't need to do that. You can bring in multiple images, and I should have done that at the beginning, but on my list, I put it at the end. So here we are near the end. You can work with multiple images. Let's close it again so we can start at the beginning. How can you do that? You can go to your Explorer, your Finder, you can grab all your images and just drag them in, and it's going to load, and you will see a film strip opens here at the bottom. If you want to close all of them, you select close all images, and there you go, and they're all gone. You can browse, bring them in like that as well. Go browse, I click and I know these are the images, and then open. Let's close them again. I wonder if I say Control-Shift-W, will it, are you sure you want, yes. So Control-Shift-W, no, Control-Shift-W, close selected images, right. So if I want to use a shortcut key to close them all, I'll go to the bottom, click on the first one, hold Shift, and click on the last one, and then Control-Shift-W, selected ones, and close them all out. How I do work often is if I'm doing the dragging thing is, let's say I've worked on this one, And while I'm working on this one, I quickly want to work on another one. You can just bring in the second one and drag it. And the moment you do that, the film strip opens here at the bottom. You also have here add images if you want to bring in more, but I just showed you so many different ways you can do that. In fact, before I forget, let's go to the top right corner where the inspector view is. You see the 3 traffic lights, click on that, or the 1 traffic light with the 3 dots. Here you also have open, close, close, and open, show an explorer. So another place that you can do this, so many ways you can do that. Now, what I want to point out here is when you bring in these images, and let me bring in a few more here. There is, okay, we bring them in. If I click on the first one, you see there's a little icon here in the bottom left corner. That shows you that upscaling is applied to this one. This one will show you that some enhancements have been applied. This one, enhancements and upscaling, and this one, upscaling. If you hover over the thumbnail, you will see at the top a little bit of info regarding everything that has been done. It says upscaled by 4 times. Upscale has been applied, and it will give you the low resolution of the image, 31%, the settings for the upscale, so 31%. So if I click on the image and run Autopilot, very strange. Go to the upscale. There we have the 31% and the 30%. It's set to low resolution. That is the AI model, and that's the information you get there. But look at this one. It will say upscaling 2.56 and the upscale and then low resolution at 75% and 32%. If you want to hide the film strip by selecting this little arrow and bring it back. Whenever you are in the comparison preview or you are in the split mode preview, you will see you have an option here to say capture. Capture the preview to see the image before and after your edits. Let's select capture, and then it pops up here, view in File Explorer. If I go to my File Explorer and I find it in my downloads, I will find it over here. And it shows you the before and after. I've not had a usage for it, but there may be a, case where you will need to capture it, where it actually shows the before and after. Could be you are working with a client and you want to show them which one do you prefer. Maybe, I don't know. But that function is there. Finally, let's talk about saving or exporting your image. You have here in the bottom right corner a quick save option and the export image. Select quick save and it gives you the image with export settings because it is pretty big image and that is your quick save. It is done. Let's go and see my Explorer. Where did this image go? It's over here, the export of her. Currently, it's in JPEG 16.1, same, right? Because we have converted it from RAW. Hey, that looks good, daddy. And then if I go back into Topaz Photo AI, let's click on Save Image, which is export. You're not going to save this image as it is. You're not going to overwrite the image, non-destructive. What we have here is with the current settings from my RAW to my JPEG, you can see over here the file size it will render in the end. You can add a prefix, suffix. I usually don't really care about this. Some people are anal about that. I know. You go ahead and do it your way. And then location is in the original folder, or you can put it in another folder. I do wish there was an option here that I can just select and say open folder after rendering. That's very standard, but I think that's something they can definitely put in the future. Format, you have JPEG, PNF, TIFF, and DNG. Do love my TIFF and DNG. So if you want to render that raw image out to any of these, if we go to TIFF, you will see you have the different settings for all of these that you want to do. I've not really worked with PNG much here. PNG, I rather go into a dedicated photo editor for my transparent backgrounds. And those are your export settings, as easy as pie. I think the final thing I probably have to say is that if we go into Photoshop and I open one of these that I worked on, new cloud documents, let me just quickly take all of that away. And bring in the image. This is where the original image started. We can go to our filter section and then we have Topaz Labs and Topaz Photo AI. It loads the image and it will load the whole image on the layer. I only had certain parts of it on my canvas, but what it's loading here is the entire image. And you can see what it's done. Let's go down to where the tree is. I'll zoom out a little bit. It has removed noise and sharpening. This is a pretty good job from the original. So within Photoshop does a great job I think that works pretty nice. And click Save to Adobe Photoshop, and it will bring it in as a smart filter. Little tip I want to give you here. Just make sure before you go and send it to Topaz Photo AI that you actually select the layer. Often you may just click and you think it will send the image as is, but if I select background here and the background is still there, and I send it to Topaz Photo AI, it's going to come out white. This brings us to the end of the tutorial. I am going to have a cup of tea now for my voice, and then also take these dogs for a walk because they are so confused why I've been using Didi's name the whole time, and I'm neglecting the others. Don't mention them at all. So they definitely need their walk. If you are interested in Topaz Photo AI, follow the link in the description below. Highly appreciate it, and I'll see you around. Until next time.